All right, sources with knowledge of the situation tell CNN the president's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, says he may tell Robert Mueller the president knew about that Trump Tower meeting with a possible Russian agent, that he supported it, and that he therefore lied about what he knew thereafter. How does this affect what's going on with the probe? And how does it mesh with what we learned from the Cohen tapes earlier this week? Everybody's got a perspective of this. We have former New York City mayor, current counsel to the president, Rudy Giuliani, here with us tonight.
Hey, Chris. Good to
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you taking the opportunity. What is your response to the headline? You did not look very impressed in the green room.
No, I expected something like this from Cohen. He's been lying all week. I mean, he's been lying for years. I mean, the tapes that we have demonstrate any number of very serious lies by him back a year and a half ago, including his fooling people, hiding tape recordings, telling they weren't recorded, lying to their face, breaking faith with them, taping his client, which is a disbarable offense. I don't see how he has any credibility. I mean, this is basically if you had a trial, and there won't be a trial here, but if you had a trial, you'd say, well, which lie do you want to pick? You want to pick the first lie, the second lie, or maybe some new lie? There's nobody that I know that knows him that hasn't warned me that if he's back is up against the wall, he'll lie like crazy, because he's lied all his life.
All right. So the flip on it is this. To do that to me, to tell me a lie, that's the media, you know, what's the recompense? To go to Bob Mueller and say, he knew, I was in the meeting, he heard his son, puts his son in the mix here also. The son told him, he supported it. He says, according to our reporting, there were other people in the room. So this is something that Bob Mueller should be able to figure out, right?
Well, the question isn't what happened in the room. The question is, what did the president know, as you said, and Bernstein said, what did he know and when did he know it? So it would have to be people in the room with the president,
right,
that can corroborate Cohen, which there won't be because it didn't happen. And then it becomes a credibility contest between two or three witnesses who say one thing and Cohen who says another.
Assuming they say different things.
I'm pretty comfortable about that. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at all of it, but I remember it pretty well. There's no doubt in my mind that he's just not credible. I would not accept him as a witness, as a prosecutor. If Mueller has any other kind of case, this is the kind of witness that can really destroy your whole case, because any finder of fact loses confidence in the case when you rely on a guy like this, when you rely on a guy where before you finish with him, you're going to have such a string of lies, you just can't trust him. And you put him under this kind of pressure, and what's his history been? His history has been lying under pressure.
One step sideways for a second, and then we'll get back into the tapes, and I know that you have responses prepared. The president says that he has an eye for talent, and he always has the best people around him. I'm sure you won't disagree with that where you're involved. He put his trust in this man for years. He entrusted him with his most sensitive matters and said, I gave him full discretion to do things I didn't need to know. It's a fundamental aspect of the president's narrative of what happened with the women. Why did he have somebody so close to him if the guy is so incredible?
That's kind of part of the human condition, right? I mean, we all make mistakes about people who turn out to be disloyal to us. You know, Benedict Arnold was disloyal to George Washington, our greatest president, right? So anybody can, Brutus and Caesar. I mean, you can go back to ancient classical literature and you can find people who you think you trust and they turn out to be scoundrels. I saw the president when the president first found out that he had been taped. And the president was completely shocked.
Oh, I believe that.
And he wasn't angry. You know, President Trump can get angry sometimes. He was disappointed, almost like a father who's been betrayed by his son. It was very moving for Jay and me.
But he obviously believed that Michael Cohen was a man of good character, who he could depend on, and who told him the truth.
Up until a few days ago, yeah. I think he did. He had no reason to distrust Michael. He didn't select Michael for government. You know Michael was bitter about that. That's going to be on tapes, without getting into the detail of that. And he's very, very jealous and bitter about the kids, which also comes across on the tapes. So you got a whole scenario here that's really, really sick. And I agree with you, the president didn't know, but gosh, I've been fooled by people, totally fooled. And I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I prosecuted a lot of people, but I've been fooled.
If it's true, indulge me for a moment. If it's true, if Cohen's telling the truth, I was there, I heard the son, he said, this is what I've got. The president, or then candidate Trump, said, great, let me know. and it happened. What do you think that means legally for the president?
I don't know. I haven't had a chance to analyze it, and I don't want to assume that hypothetical because it's so contrary to all the facts that I know up until now. I'm not going to assume that. And I'm not going to argue, well, even if it happened, it may not be as significant as all of the anti-Trump people are going to blow it up to. But I honestly don't think it's that significant. But in any event, that doesn't matter. It didn't happen. That's our position.
But the only way we know it didn't happen is because Trump Jr. says it didn't happen and the president says it didn't happen.
Correct. And a person who is found to be an incredible liar, who's got a tremendous motive to lie now because he's got nothing to give, says it all of a sudden at the 11th hour.
All right.
I don't think anybody believes that, Chris.
All right, well, we'll see, right? We'll see if Mueller wants to take the meeting, if he wants to hear.
Well, I don't know why he wouldn't take the meeting. You want to hear it, but then the question becomes, can he corroborate it?
Right.
If he can't corroborate it, it's useless.
Well, you said earlier he might not want this. He may know things.
You still want to hear it. I mean, he's going to be running around saying this. You want to hear what he has to say. But as far as I can tell from the record, it is not corroborated by anything. In fact, it's disputed.
All right, now here's your problem, okay? And this will get us into the earlier scoop we had in the week. Michael Cohen has a credibility issue, stipulated for the point of argument. You got it. So does your client. Your client has a credibility issue. He has said things that are not true, and this week became an example of that. The idea that he didn't know anything about Karen McDougal until after the fact seems to be disproved by that tape. How no?
Nothing on that tape.
Go one by one.
I told you the key part of that tape that they were pushing on was the check or no check thing.
Which I never understood, but make your case first.
Well,
I understood your case. I don't understand the significance.
They wanted to say that he wanted to do this transaction in cash, which of course is absurd. It was a corporate transaction.
Right.
You can't do it in cash. So trying to attribute those words to him was like forcing an interpretation of what is in fact a tape that has to be carefully analyzed on people. The idea of a cash transaction here is absurd. The idea of check makes it clear that the president wanted a memorialization of it, wasn't afraid of it. That's important. It's important to mental state. It's important to, did he have an intent to deceive, which he didn't. The president hasn't done anything wrong here. As far as the president not telling the truth, there's nothing that contradicts what he said about this investigation. Not a darn thing.
Well, except
how about the tape? How about the tape with you? Cohen says, I set it up with Stormy Daniels. I paid it. I paid it out of my own pocket. I did it for the family. I didn't do it for campaign purposes. That is word for word exactly the version we have, not only from the president, but from all the people around the president.
All right.
That corroborates our case and kind of throws the Stormy Daniels thing out of the picture. So he kind of screwed himself on that.
All right.
So what does he have left?
Let's take it one at a time.
He has this ridiculous collusion thing. So it's got to go a lot further than this, by the way.
All right, but let's
did Trump ever meet with Russians? Did he ever agree with them? What do you mean he colluded? The Russians hacked. Nobody thinks the president was involved in the hacking. Did he get the fruits of it unknowingly? No. But if he did, that's not a crime. There's no crime there.
Understood. But there's a difference between something being illegal and something being wrong. Now, one thing, you got me handcuffed on one thing. What Michael Cohen told me on that tape, I told him was off the record. Even though what happened in terms of the recording of it, that's one issue. It was off the record, so I can't corroborate what you're saying.
I can. I read the transcript.
I know you did. I know, but I just wanted to be clear. I'm not going back on my word.
I'm not going to ask you. You did, Chris. I told you this then. I said it on Fox. Said it all over. You did exactly the right thing. In fact, Chris, thank you for doing it because you questioned him the way a lawyer would question him, and you got everything out of him. You got 100. I couldn't have done a better job of getting him to corroborate my client's statement than you did.
All right. Be that as it may.
And he did it 3 or 4 times.
It was off the record. I can't talk about it.
But he put it on the record by taping the darn thing.
I understand.
Surreptitiously.
I understand.
By lying to you.
I understand it. But just because somebody else does the wrong thing doesn't mean I'm going to do the same thing. So let me just take you back to something else that I can speak to. On the tape that we played on the show this week.
Which was the first one now.
Yes.
Okay.
The president had a familiarity with what Michael Cohen was telling him that they needed to be doing with regard to McDougal and the other assets that AMI may or may not still have. He knew the dollar amount. He knew what was happening and why. That shows knowledge before the transaction. That is inconsistent with what the president and with what Hope Hicks said from the campaign. He knew nothing about this until after the fact. Not true, Rudy. We know it from the tape.
No, that's not right. The tape is really, can be argued either way on whether he knew or he didn't know. He doesn't say, I knew
Why did he know
about
the dollar amount?
Cohen could have told them 2 hours before and not taped it. I mean, how do I? There's one conversation between Cohen and the president that's taped. You think they had one conversation in 2 years?
I don't know, but I know that when I hear it, it's not new information.
Here's another thing that he did. When Trump said check, and everybody agrees he said check at the end, he cut it off abruptly. Who knows what else was discussed then? There's no doubt the president was very surprised by the idea of financing, that they were going to have to make some kind of payment.
It was a clumsy word to use. I think it was Cohen trying to legitimize the discussion, frankly.
Why do we have to make everything like against the president? How
am I
he was surprised.
I'm giving you one take.
He was surprised. He was surprised by financing. You can hear it in his voice.
He said, what financing?
He says financing. What financing?
Right.
Which indicates he certainly didn't know the details of this
situation. And then I think he says, I'll pay cash. And then Cohen says, no. And he'll say check.
No, doggone it, he doesn't say that. He says, don't pay cash. No, Cohen says.
I had a forensic expert look at the tape, and he said something else.
And I had 3 forensic experts.
All right, but it's not me being unfair to the president. I'm just telling you what the forensicist said.
I'm telling you, if you want to listen to it,
I've listened to it so many times, I never want to hear any of them again. I'm just saying, don't get upset about it. That's
I am upset about it because people are lying about it. It says, don't pay cash.
Wait, why would the forensic expert lie about what he heard? I'm just saying, be open to the possibility you're wrong.
I am not wrong. I heard it myself.
Well, you could be wrong, Rudy.
I'm not wrong. I heard it myself.
It's so unclear on the tape.
No, it's not. Not if you used to listen to thousands and thousands of hours of tape and dealing with inaudibles like I am and knowing how to enhance them yourself, which I know how to do. Be that as it may, the man is a liar, a proven liar. There's no way you're going to bring down the president of the United States on the testimony uncorroborated of a proven liar. And I guarantee you, this guy is a proven liar.
I hear what you're saying.
A year ago, when I wasn't his lawyer, people in your profession told me, this guy will flip because he is an inherent pathological liar.
Well, look, we only know what you show. We'll see what proof there is. If he's a liar,
I'm not worried about it at all.
But I'm saying credibility is a problem for the president, too. That's not me being unfair. It's me being objective.
But the president's credibility is not at issue.
Why not?
Because the president, people are
says he didn't know about the meeting. Maybe he did.
You got to make a case against him first. You haven't made a case against him.
But that is going to be proof
no, it's
of
not.
part
It's
of a
not
case.
A case when a liar says something. This guy's testimony will be worth nothing.
Well, hold on a second. If the president knew about that meeting at Trump Tower in advance, if he did, it matters, Rudy. It does.
It does, but it's not a smoking gun. It matters.
Well, that's not the bar.
But
in
any event,
it's proof. And it's also proof that he's been lying to the American people.
He didn't know about it. I know that. I've been over this in great detail. I've talked to the corroborating witnesses. This guy is walking into a trap. But
you've talked to the other people that were in the room?
I did a month ago, 2 months ago.
And you know what they say the president was told and not told by his son?
I know what they say, yes.
All right, fine. Then I accept your word at that. We'll see what you can do to prove it.
And I know that he's walking into a situation in which there will be no corroboration. Gosh almighty, why didn't he tape it? He taped everything else. He's got 100 tapes. Why didn't he tape that? Maybe he did. Maybe he's got a tape of that he erased. Did you ever think of that?
No.
You don't think he would erase the tape?
Maybe he would. I don't know.
I can demonstrate to you with my forensic expert that he cut that tape off.
Well, we know that, but there's good and bad reason for that. He could have done it, as you're saying, as part of an orchestration, or it could have been that he got an incoming call and it cut off the app that was recording it on the iPhone. That's a problem that we can have with that.
Well, good. Well, we can argue both ways, and that creates a reasonable doubt.
Absolutely. Listen, again.
And the reasonable doubt has to be given to the person who's under investigation.
I'm with you. Although, Rudy, let's just point something out for the audience. I'm trying to make points about credibility. You say, well, that doesn't make a case. And then
Chris,
you say, well, that's reasonable doubt. Well, what is it? Do you want a legal context or you're not?
You're making little points about credibility, and there's a couple of major points about the guy who you're relying on for this big story tonight. Number one, he lied to people about taping them, both the president and other people. And not only that, he went to subterfuge in order to do it, like a whole little game, which shows how pathological he is. Second, we know that we have statements from him corroborating 100% the entire Stormy Daniels situation, exactly as the president has told it.
But if he's a liar, then why wasn't he lying then and trying to get over on somebody like me to get a good story for the president?
Well, that's the point.
Who he seemed to love more than his own family.
Now you're making a summation argument that makes him totally useless. You don't know when he's telling the truth, unless you don't even know if he's telling the truth when he's on tape, because he lies on tape. So the man is what we call in the legal profession incredible. He's not credible.
And you don't think the president has a similar credibility problem?
He does not. The president hasn't done anything like that. President doesn't go around taping people and lying to them.
No, not the taping and lying. Although, Rudy, be careful. He said he did exactly that with Jim Comey. That's what he suggested. And then no tapes ever came out.
He did it as a test of Comey. He did it as a test of Comey.
Did he tape Jim Comey?
Did not. As he said 3 days later, after he said that.
Did they tape the interview that happened in Helsinki where he said that we'll put out the tapes later and you'll be able to see what was done and not done?
I don't know. I don't know anything about Helsinki.
Sarah Sanders was supposed to give it to us.
That's a whole
Never
big
happened,
question
but I'm
of foreign
saying
policy.
it goes to credibility.
You're talking about the meeting between?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
No. It was in an interview that he had done about NATO, and he said, I record all these interviews now, and you'll get that tape. We never got the tape. The idea of the president
Didn't
telling
the reporter tape it?
Yeah, and they said, well, we have our own to show the true context. It never came out. What I'm saying is this. He's got credibility issues on things small, medium, and large. That's why those tweets are being relevant, because he's been lying about this investigation.
You can't make a case against somebody based on credibility issues. You got to prove.
But credibility counts, and that may be why you don't want him to testify, is because if
No, I don't want him to testify because I don't want him to be put up against liars. I don't want a situation like... he says the truth about this. There are 3 witnesses to corroborate him, but they recommend perjury because one guy, a proven liar, says the opposite.
But he puts himself in the same box. When he says there was no Russian interference, he knows it's not true. He says it anyway. That's a lie.
He hasn't said that.
He's said it a million
he said
times,
he wasn't,
Rudy.
He hasn't. He has done nothing wrong. He hasn't colluded with the Russians.
He says Russian interference is a hoax. It's something the Democrats made up.
He just gave a press conference in which he said that he accepts the findings.
Now, because
a year ago.
No.
We put out an interview of him 8 months ago, 10 months ago,
Rudy,
saying exactly the same thing.
Come on. You know that he has said so many times it's a hoax and a witch hunt, and the Democrats made it up to make up for why they lost.
The witch hunt is trying to inveigle him into whatever the hell the Russians did.
Fine, then he should draw the distinction like you just did.
He did.
Never does. He did not.
Yes, he did.
He did it.
Okay. Well, we're going to go back and forth. He did.
Well, because I'm so right. I've never been more right against you than I am right now.
Chris, you're absolutely wrong. Right after Helsinki, he said, I accept it.
After he adopted Putin's position. Come on. Chris, I was in Helsinki, one of the most embarrassing things I've ever witnessed.
Would you let me?
Please, go ahead. Say
That's another, personal attack. That really
It's not. It was embarrassing to see him say,
because
Putin's
you're
very
embarrassed.
convincing.
I wasn't embarrassed.
And our intelligence community, they say what they say.
Well, you have your perspective and I have mine. The reality is that the president said that he accepted the fact that there was Russian interference. I don't exactly know how long ago, at least 6 months, 8 months, maybe a year ago.
And you don't think since that time he's said Russian interference is a hoax? I will send you a list of stuff that will crash your phone.
What he is saying is that the attempt to inveigle him.
I get it.
With all this craziness, $20 million worth of investigations, all this obstruction nonsense that only comes out of the fact that you have this investigation that started with Peter Strzok running it for 8 months. That is a hoax. He's right.
Well, first of all, we do not know that he is right about it being a hoax. It's certainly a legitimate investigation.
No,
Pompeo says it. Coates says it. Members of Congress say it.
It's a legitimate investigation of the Russians. It is hardly a legitimate investigation of him. This is a political investigation started by the people who helped Hillary out of her jam. All those people put on the case.
Republicans.
Not Republicans. Peter Strzok.
Comey, Mueller, Rosenstein.
Oh, yeah, there's some Republicans.
Well, they're either Republicans or they're not.
Well, Mueller hires all Democrats, including
Democratic
Democratic
He didn't hire all Democrats.
activists.
It was about 50-50.
No Republicans? Not a single Republican?
He does have he has Republicans on
not
his
that
staff.
I know of. Certainly not a Republican that are engaged, like Weissman was engaged, like Jim Quarles was engaged, donating a lot of money to the Democrats.
Mueller himself is a lifelong rock-ribbed Republican, and you know that. The president had just met with him about taking a post in the cabinet.
And turned him down.
But why did he meet with him?
He begins with a conflict.
But why did he meet with him?
Well, he didn't know who Mueller was. Mueller was a guy.
He didn't know who he was, and he met with him to be the head of the FBI?
What I mean is he didn't know all the bad things about Mueller. He knew that Mueller was a former FBI guy. He needed an FBI guy. He interviewed him, and on the spot he decided he's not the right guy.
Here's what I don't get.
Don't return him into the job. And then that guy becomes you select that guy as the special prosecutor when he's just been turned down for a job?
Rosenstein did. The guy that Trump administration picked. They picked Rosenstein.
I think it was a very serious mistake of judgment.
All right, but it's not. But this conspiracy theory that they're all out to get the president and part of some angry men cabal, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, they are out to get him. They are out to get him. They are contorting evidence in order to get him. They are putting undue pressure on people in order to get him. They're putting Manafort in solitary confinement, which sounds more like Russia than the U.S., in order to get him to break. And maybe they've succeeded in cracking this guy and getting him to lie. I don't know. I'm not sure of that. I shouldn't say it.
Then don't say it.
Michael has disappointed me so much that I can't believe it. When I saw that he taped the president, when I listened to the other tapes, some of which you haven't heard, and the way in which he deceives people, there's no way this guy survives, like even a motion to dismiss anything that happens.
Well, here's what we know for sure.
He'll ruin your whole case.
This is going to be a fundamental issue of credibility.
Good.
And if you're right about it, then this is going to go one way and very
There's no other way
quickly.
it's going to go, because the president did anything wrong.
Rudy Giuliani, thank you very much. No
Okay.
reason to get so angry about everything.
I'm not
It's all about
angry.
civil discourse.
I am upset about the lying that's going on. And I am getting upset that this thing is being carried to ridiculous extents now.
I understand your position, but you know here, tough but fair.
I didn't say you weren't
You're
fair.
banging on my table. You're going to break it. It's very
I
expensive.
did not bang on your table, Chris. I got upset about the way in which every single thing is construed against the president, when in fact, anybody under investigation is entitled to the benefit of the doubt.
100%.